Hello everyone, welcome to a new recording. The plan here is to try to get the User32.DLL to have it entirely in LabView so that it can be used for any other projects in the future. This is my first video here, so I'm sorry about the quality, and I actually pre-recorded this and I'm doing a voiceover. It's about 3 hours long. I'm gonna try to shorten that, and hopefully my quality of videos improves over time. So let's see how that goes. So first off, what am I talking about? What can we do here? And LabView has a very cool feature where we can actually create our own DLL library. Well, not create DLL, I'm sorry. We can create the wrappers for every function within a DLL. That, however, needs its own header file, and the header file is basically what tells the computer, in this case LabView, what is contained within the DLL file and how to interact with it and what kind of information is expected back from those DLL functions. So if we open up the User32.DLL, usually there is no header that is User32.H, which is what we would be looking for. Towards the end of this, I'm going to go ahead and make my own, but for now, the best place to find one is to use the WinUser.H file. Now for me, I did some research online. The best place to get that is within your Windows downloads folder. There will be one for the Windows kit, Windows 10, and within that you're going to find a WinUser.H file. That is the file that should be used. So if we run it, there's about 994 functions within this. However, that WinUser.H was unable to extract any of them. That is the big problem here. Now, why was it unable to extract any of them? Honestly, I am not sure. It might have to do with a lot of things, but through a lot of trial and error, I was able to figure out some things, and I'm one of those perfectionist type of people, so my goal here was to make sure every single function is found. After some trial and error, basically what I need to do is create my own WinUser.H to decode this. Now, the reason I'm going this route instead of like other routes, and I know this this can be done on a case-by-case basis, but again, I want to create the entire wrappers for the entire User32 so that I have anything I need in the future is already ready. I just need to plug it in and go. That is my goal here. So I created this file and I don't know what I'm looking for. So the next step is going to be to run and look at some variables that are giving me errors and try to work from there to figure out what to do. So it looks like these H files are all missing. And if we go ahead and include all these header files, that might actually create a solution for me, and then I won't need to do anything. So I go ahead and try to add those to see what happens. So we did find all 994, but we're still missing headers, even though I've put in a lot of headers in here. So what I had done earlier that's not shown here is I actually pulled up, I searched all the .h files in my Windows files and then put them all in one folder so that I have access to them all easily. And then I went from there. So trying different things, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work. And it looks like anything I do, I'm still running into the same errors. Alright, so opening up the custom file that I created to try to see what's going on in here, searching first for the in and out. Obviously I know what those are, and then I start looking for that first function that I always find in the User32, which is the keyboard layout, and trying to see what's going on in here. You know, it appears multiple times in the file. Obviously I only care about one of them, This is a really big file. So I'm going to go ahead and run this again and see what the exact name is so that I know where I can edit, where I can fix things in order to find what I need. So I tried to run this with the edited file here, try to see if anything pops up. I used no include path since they did not seem to help, and looking at the activate keyboard layout here, I have a few things that are missing, basically the HKL. So basically now I look at the activate keyboard layout and try to figure out what's going on here. There's something related to which Windows version it is. I'm not sure if that's relevant or not, so I'm going to go ahead and see if that's defined anywhere. It does not appear to be defined anywhere at this point. But hey, here it is, it shows up, Windows version. If it's not defined, it sets it to 0x0500. So version 5, and I'm not exactly sure what that means at this stage. Going back to the keyboard layout section, I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. What is this H file trying to do? I tried to change the integer into a boolean. It seems maybe that will cause some kind of difference. Let's see. And does not really appear to be a difference. The HKL part is gone, but then I got all these new things about depreciated things that aren't supported. Again, not exactly sure what that means. I tried changing some things, seeing if I get rid of the in out with the underscore. That seems to be some kind of indicator. Trying to see if anything pops up. With basically nothing working, go to search for this online, try to see what's going on, looking at the Microsoft documents of how does this work. This seems to be the call sign that it uses, HKL-UINT. What is HKL? Looks like it's just a boolean. I think when I was recording this, I had already researched this. That's why I tried the bool variable, and that did not seem to work. So now that I know this, I'm going to go ahead and try to call this manually and see if what I'm doing will work. So I'm trying to create a manual wrapper here. So now comparing basically what the what LabView has versus what the Microsoft documents have, we can see that there's a lot of similarities, some slight differences in declaring them. I did not find a specific HKL, so I went ahead and used the 32-bit integer, and I was hoping that would maybe work. So now basically the next step is going to be to put it in, see if that works, see what works, what doesn't. Let's see how that goes. So it seems it still does not work. I still have something that's missing here. The integer 32 did not work out, I guess. Not sure why. So here I get the idea to be like, hey, let me try if void works. That, that's like pretty standard. If that works, then there might be some hope. Otherwise, that's it. It's over. So I tried to run that. I did, by the way, save things into a text file just to make it easier to copy and paste them, just to run these things. I'm not using any include paths because I don't think those are necessary to get what I'm trying to do. So the void still does not work. I have a bigger problem. I don't know how to handle this situation at this point. So maybe it has to do with all these include files. Maybe I actually do need them to define what void actually is. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and try to include all of these, try to find them in my documents and see if I can figure out if that matters or not. So it would appear basically all the includes, or many of them, are there, but that did not seem to change anything. So what I tried to do is eliminate the entire Windows version situation and try to see if that works. We also switched it into a D word instead of a void. That seems to be something that might be helpful. So going in, trying to run it, we'll see if that works. And let's see here. So it seems like something did happen. It's still, we still have an error here, unsigned long. Not sure what that exactly relates to. The D word is an unsigned long. Now I'm not sure where I found this tip, probably when doing the search for the other headers I found it, but this does indicate that, hey, something is happening here. That's good. That is a very good sign. So going into the function library, basically, I'm trying to see here, where did this D word come from? Because that does not seem to be any data type that is here, even though that language was used elsewhere. So trying to figure out what that is. The next logical place to look for help is going to be the LabView help, and trying to see what a D word is in this situation or how it relates to a long. I know that some of you out there might already know the answer, but I wanted to find out so that I can that I can create the wrappers for all 900 of these functions. So the next step is basically to go online and try to find something. And there's a lot of resources on here about so many different things related to shared libraries. Nothing that seems to be very helpful. Here we look at what data types are, but this is basically how LabView interprets data types. It has nothing to do with how the library, how a D word relates to a long. So I probably need to go look somewhere else. Looks like on this source there is something that might be able to help us. It's within LabView itself. So I'm going to go ahead and run this example and see if anything pops up from it. So after finding the file, before I go ahead and open it, I do go through and try to find if there's anything unique going on in here. I look at some H files that they have and what kind of declarations they used. Does not seem to, some of them use void. I don't know why that didn't work for me. So I go ahead and open it, and I find this very interesting source in there that has some kind of direct relation between the different inputs and outputs. This might be the key to figuring out how to solve everything in here. So I keep looking online trying to find something. The one thing that I'm not sure if you missed it, it was a few seconds ago that the calling convention can either be a standard call or C. And I'm not sure if that might be related to which kind of terminology can be used and which one cannot. So this line of searching basically is taking me down this deep rabbit hole. I'm just going through a lot of things related to what data types are and how they're used and where. Finally, I landed on an Excel file and I was like, wow, this is going to be it. I'm going to find everything. And it just seems to be a lot of just random things. Nothing that gives me the definitive answer that I am looking for. If you're familiar with any kind of programming, you're familiar with data types, and I keep hitting up those same things, just going over and over what data types are from different places in C, C++, LabView, and it's all the same, just with different words, but nothing that is telling me, and this is the thing I'm looking for. I'm looking for something that tells me that a D word relates directly to a long. In this case, I think it was an unsigned long. At this point, I don't remember. But I'm just very far down this rabbit hole. I'm just trying to figure out what's what. After a lot more searching, it seems that there is some kind of header file called WinDef, which is probably Windows definitions or define or something. And that's probably where everything I need is located. So I go ahead and open up that H file and see if there's anything in there that might be helpful. So looking through this, I find D word real fast, and it looks like that's just defining variables as you would expect. But that might just be the key to figuring out how to do this. So dword itself does not actually mean anything, but could just be used to create something. I don't know if that makes sense. I know that doesn't make sense. I'm sure I said this wrong somehow, but this was a big leap in my opinion. So this Windows data types, that seems to be the big thing that creates all the calling conventions that are going to be used anywhere in the code. Basically, anything that I'm creating, that H file is going to need to know this information. At this point, I'm starting to get desperate. I need to get all this information somehow, and I need it all to be put into this. Next step, I resort to the inspector, trying to find if there's a quick way where I can just copy paste exactly what I need, ignoring everything else, because I don't want to have to go through and copy paste this. Automating this is the best way forward. I finally find HKL. What is HKL? And it seems to be some kind of handle. It's called HKL. That's all I have here. But that finally sparks something. I'm like, hey, if I can fix this issue, I can probably fix anything, can't I? So it seems this is an unsigned long as well. It's just called HKL now. So the handle itself is probably what the unsigned long is, not the D word itself, which is exactly what was theorized here. Again, if you're somebody that deals with C or C++, you probably already knew this. I needed to figure this out on my own and find a way to make it work for me. So I go ahead now and try this again, play with some different iterations, trying to find where how all this connects and how I can use this to get all 994 functions out of the user32. So it seems like this is a good point to start my own thing. I create a User32.H, which is going to be the basis for everything. I go ahead and empty that. I copy in just the piece of code that I'm using just to see if that's going to work all by itself using the activate keyboard function. We go ahead and run that. And it works. It actually knows, obviously it can read the 900 functions from the User32.DLL file, but my very simple couple line H file was able to parse the activate keyboard layout. So the next step was just to figure out where all those definitions are. Once I have those in there, I would need to figure out another way to get all the functions in there. So I'm on the right path here. Now that everything seems like it's working, I was like, I'm going to try to get something else to work. In this case, the second one, add clipboard format listener. This one needed a boolean. What is a boolean? Now, you probably already know what that is, that it's a type of integer, there's just 0 or 1, but it's defined here that the variable bool is an int. And that is probably where everything broke for me earlier because of this type definition. So we're using very basic definitions to create the more complex ones, such as how a boolean is an integer. Now, the normal Windows define H file, if everything works perfectly within Windows, is all connected, but when I was trying to get it to a User32.DLL with a non-existent .h file, that seemed to be very hard. Even though I can create a wrapper for every single function myself, it was not what I wanted to do here. So working around this, as you can see, I tried to get some different type definitions in there, and I'm trying to figure out what is the, what kind of chain of definitions is being used. And we go through this all the way back, and it looks like a handle. What is a handle? Seems like that's something called a p-void. I guess it's a pointer to a void. What is a pointer to a void? It's a void in itself. So that kind of begs the question, why did void not work initially? It is possible that there is some kind of verification check between the .h file and the .dll file that I'm not sure of, or obviously I could be completely wrong, but I'm on the right track. Something is working with the way I'm looking at this now. After running this, it is loading, it figures out what's what. It is not giving me errors where I thought it would. So we are on the right path. That's exactly where I want it to be. The next step here is going to be to basically extract all those definitions, all the hierarchy, and figure out what is connected to what. And the best way to do that is probably to use LabView to do that. I love using LabView. I use it for everything. There's probably other languages that would do this much faster, much more efficiently, but I wanted to use LabView to do it. And this is me doing that. If anyone is interested in all the specifics, this is about a 30 long video that's accelerated. If you're not, I just skip through and you guys can go ahead and see that on another video that I'm going to upload. So this is continuing after everything was done. Now that all that is done and I have the entire definitions in there, the next step here is going to basically be to test this. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up some functions and I'm going to do them one by one. So looking at this window rectangle, just copy paste that under my type definitions within my personal User32.H file. Let's see how that goes. And it did not read it. So why did it not read it? What is the mistake that was done here? So first assumption is that there's something wrong within it. So we go ahead and try to find it. We don't find it anywhere in this situation. Why does LP rectangle does not appear anywhere? dword does. What is the problem? After looking at this online, it is a pointer to a rectangle, obviously, but I don't know what the L is for. I guess the P is pointer. What's LP for? Anyway, maybe it's a long pointer? No, that doesn't make sense. I don't know what it is. Anyway, sorry about that mini rant. So it's also in the WinDef.H, which means we should have already found it, but for some reason, we actually don't have it in there. So we need to define it, and that's a special type of structure that needs to be defined here for this specifically. This might be a whole new thing that I need to look for. So after running it, there it is, it does appear. So all we needed to do was basically to figure out that we need to define that structure, and that structure was what was needed. At this stage, I'm like, let me try a bunch of these at the same time and see what happens. And after finally putting them all in here, this is the result. We have most of them in there. I need to go through, make sure that they're the same number on either side, but if they are, then we have figured this out. There seems to be one that is missing, LPC STR, not sure what that stands for, something pointer CSTR, whatever that is, so we need to figure out what's wrong with this thing. So we seem to find something here. It does exist, I've already had it there, but for some reason it's not reading. However, the regular append menu is being read. So the next step was like to figure out why one is working while the other is not. So after comparing those two, this is what ends up being the reason. That null terminated constant, it seems to be something that is not defined properly. It is only defined in one place, right here, not used anywhere else in the entire H file that I have created. So I guess the next thing to do is to try to eliminate that and see if that changes anything. In the grand scheme of things, when it comes down to a single function, I will have to research what that function is and use it. I'm not going to use any of these wrappers just as is. And if they do give me a problem, I will go ahead and fix that internally and have the information being passed have its own check on the LabView wrapper end, as opposed to within this parser system. So now that I did that, it seems like everything works. I count everything up. Everything seems to be fine. We are on the right track. So after doing all this, I have a list of things that I still need to do. I need to handle structures, enums, callbacks, and then put in all the functions. 994 functions to go. I'll go ahead and do that in another video. This video is already long enough. Nobody wants to be here that long. It's already been almost 2 hours. Alright everyone, till next time, bye.